bland marketing terminology, but cold list, warm list, hot list. If you have a cold list or a lukewarm list and you're already sticking your product in their face, I'm not saying that can never work, but if you're going to have a much lower conversion. It's the whole marriage on the first date scenario. Like, that doesn't work. So the deeper you've built that relationship and just formed a bond with them, the better. My tip for that is, again, taking it back to contests, taking it back to having a great lead magnet. Well, one of my great lead magnets, I don't want to ramble here, but I think it'll give perspective, is I have this one ad with 3 scoops of vanilla ice cream, and it has some espresso drizzled on top, and then and it says, the 5 best coffee recipes that go with ice cream. So the type of products that I'm selling that are pertinent to that, only people that are into that click on it. But once they do, I don't put a product in their face until my automatic scoring system in my email service provider actually rates them as, hey, look, this person is showing, this person has hit the score of, they're really into your product. It doesn't matter if you sell paper clips or coffee at this point, they're into what you got. So at that point, when I sell to them, the conversion's amazing.
Last couple of years, as far as the marketing and promotions, the number one game changer probably is retargeting. In the past, there was cookies, and cookies were like a little code that you put on your HTML code. When you build a website, it's called HTML code, and in that code, it's like the programming code. You would put something in the code using the footer or the header that would lay what's called a cookie. And a cookie is kind of like a marker. It's kind of like if you were in the woods, and so you could find your way out. You would tie a little ribbon around a tree, and okay, when I go out of the woods, I need to follow these ribbons on these trees. But the problem is those trees don't move. That ribbon is tied to that tree. It says that, yes, Kevin passed by this tree at one point, but it doesn't move with me. Pixels are the new thing, which came out. Facebook kind of introduced one of the first ones, and it's grown up. Google uses it and Reddit and everybody uses them. But pixels follow me. So instead of that ribbon tied around the tree, it basically follows me everywhere I go. So whether I'm using my mobile device, I'm using my laptop, I'm using my iPad, it follows me wherever I go. That's how when you log into your cell phone to Amazon.com, and then you go over to your computer and you pull up Amazon.com, how does it know what to put in your shopping cart? Because you put stuff in your shopping cart on your phone, it puts the same things in your shopping cart on your laptop. Those are pixels. And so pixels can store a bunch of information. They actually don't store the information. The information is stored offline on big servers like Facebook's and stuff. But it can create all this data of everywhere I go on the internet. Cookies could do it to some degree, but pixels are so much better. And so they can build these profiles. And so I can take the big game changers, like say if I run a Facebook ad, rather than running a photo, here's a photo of my dog leash, I'll show a video of someone walking their dog, putting the leash on the dog, explaining how it works. And I can then retarget anybody that watched. That video doesn't sell. It doesn't sell anything. It's just like, here's a cool leash. Here's how you do it. Here's someone enjoying it. Here's the dog having fun. And it just creates an image. It doesn't sell anything. And someone's like, that's cool. Well, then the next day, I can actually then say, anybody that watched 25% of that video or 50% of that video or more is probably maybe interested in my product because they took the time to stop and watch that video and follow it all the way through. That means they weren't bored. That means it was something of some level. They showed some sort of interest in it. And so now I can do what's called retargeting. And so I can retarget those people. I can say, Facebook, create me an audience of, yesterday 1,000 people watched my video, but 200 of them watched at least 25% of it. The other 800, they might watch the first 10 seconds and said, this is not for me, or they scrolled on past it. Those 200 now is a new audience of people who are really interested in my product. So now I can send them another video. And this time I might not sell them again. It goes back to what we said earlier. You got to build it up. This next video is something else about dogs. It may be, here's a dog bowl. And look at this dog bowl and how it saves, how it keeps my dog from eating so fast. It's a slow feed dog bowl. And then I can then take those people and say the 25 people that watch 25% or more of that video, and maybe now from those 200, maybe now there's 100 left, and I can keep refining this process through a series of videos. So I have like 4 or 5 videos now. By the end of this, I'm down to like 20 people, the initial 1,000 that have watched at least 25% or more of all my videos. Those people are indoctrinated into my brand, into my product. They've been educated about it. They like whatever it is I have to say. So now I can go out to those 20 people and say, hey, take a look at this product for dogs. I have whatever it is, would you like it? And the chances of a response go up dramatically, and the chance of conversion and brand loyalty go up dramatically. So that's retargeting, and you can't do that on a TV ad. You can't do that in direct mail. In direct mail, if I send something to them, I don't know if the people read it or they just threw it straight to the trash. I don't know. So that's one of the game changers of e-commerce is retargeting and pixel marketing, where you can really refine who your audience is. And you can't do that selling on Amazon, because Amazon doesn't allow you to put pixels because they don't want people stealing all the data that they keep to themselves. And that's why they kicked Google off a couple years ago. You should have Google ads on the bottom on Amazon in like 2015. There was like Amazon ran little text ads with Google, and Google was putting in pixels and like tracking all kinds of stuff of what's happening on Amazon. And Amazon's like, you can't have this data. It's extremely valuable data, and people don't realize how much is known about them out there. Yeah, it's supposed to be anonymous. It's not anonymous. These big data companies, they know everything about you. And so that's the game changer in e-commerce, is in understanding that process as a marketer is super, super powerful. And there's never been anything like it. And that's where you can really get a major edge if you understand that how this whole thing works. And most people don't.
So I think the retargeting works better from other social media, like social media sites, Facebook as an example. Some of the Google retargeting certainly works well. The retargeting in the Amazon space, they started beta testing that ad type, what they call sponsored display ads, which is an external retargeting ad. They actually introduced that back it was August of 2017, so it's been a little over 2 years now. But it was so limited as far as who had access to it, that typically only those who had agencies like mine had a number of accounts that actually had beta access to it. And they'd rotate through who had access to it. Amazon just recently, like in the past month, officially announced it as in like, okay, this is publicly available. And Amazon sellers are like going, oh man, this is the greatest new thing. It's like, well, it's been around for 2 years actually, but they finally, took it out of beta. It's still very early because Amazon's external ad network is still fairly limited. We tend to get, on Amazon, it's normal for us to expect a 10 to 15% conversion rate, which is a lot higher than most e-commerce platforms. In the advertising, just straight advertising on Amazon, if we have a product that has a 10 to 15% overall conversion rate on Amazon, that same product may have like a 3 to 5% conversion rate off of Amazon, and so there's a much higher trust there. The regular advertising, PPC advertising on Amazon, might have a 5 to 10% conversion rate. The sponsored display ads, as far as the external retargeting, drops down to about 2 or 3% conversion rate. So definitely kind of, once you get off of Amazon, that trust disappears quickly.
And of course, we're running Google dynamic retargeting ads. And the way that works is, you kind of instrument your website. And if they so much as look at a product, that particular product that they're looking at will follow them all over the web. And so that converts really, really well. Lately, it's actually been converting better than the Facebook dynamic retargeting ads that we run.
Facebook Pixel, where you basically tag people that visited your site, and especially in this case where they would visit a content piece about a certain problem, you have that information in Facebook, and then all the future adverts that you would be presenting, you can basically separate those ads and build special types of ads for different people and different needs, because that person landed on this particular problem case, and then you present them with the solution rather than doing a blanket cover with just one ad.
I would go and download the reports of Amazon sellers, or Amazon customers, and they have a report called Amazon Fulfilled Shipments, and this report includes all your buyers' history. And you can get their names, their address, the zip code, and everything. Once you have this data, all the names and zip code and address, you can take the data from your Amazon buyers and then upload it to Facebook using custom audience creation. So you create a custom audience with the data you took from Amazon. And Amazon today they give you the option to download a monthly report. So you can do it just once a month and then build up your audience on Facebook. And then you can either retarget your customers or create a lookalike audience that have the same interest and then retarget those customers.
But the way I run these ads is I always try to get an email and a messenger subscriber as well as a push notification subscriber. And as soon as I acquire that customer, I'm just repeatedly giving them offers over a long period of time. Because a customer that lands on your site, I think the average conversion rate is something like 2%. So anytime I can bring them back over and over and over again, when they're ready to buy, they will actually think about my e-commerce store and eventually buy from us.
So one of the things that you can think through is what content modality, you could call it, can you put together to engage people? Video, of course, comes to mind. Photography, of course, comes to mind. But also infographics, digital products like PDF documents, little tools, things that you can put on your site that are helpful, charts, tables, things that your customer would ideally use in the course of using the product or learning about the product or becoming a master at, working with the product. And all of those things can be resources in different forms and different styles. You don't have to have them all on your main Shopify site. You can, again, have them on your Pinterest account, have them on your YouTube channel, have them shared on Instagram. And that way people stick to you in multiple methods. And then they'll come back to you, because they've been reminded from seeing you on Pinterest. Or they'll come back to you because they've been reminded from seeing you because they're in your Facebook group. So you want to build in these systems for getting repeat customers. Traffic strategies, a lot of people focus on traffic strategies to acquire new people, and very few marketers focus on traffic strategies to get the second visit. So get the person to come back a second time. If you do that religiously, then you really don't have as much work to do on the acquisition side for brand new visitors, because every time you're building that revisit into your systems, you're going to scale your traffic. And every new person you get to the site is going to get better at that second visit strategy.
That's something that Amazon sellers are not really used to when it comes to Amazon, because we're not able to use Amazon Pixel. But on the other hand, you can use your Pixel on your website, so you can place a cookie on your visitor's browser, so you can retarget them after their visit. So if you have a visitor that checked your product, probably placed it in a shopping cart and suddenly left for any reason, you can retarget them on different platforms and offer them a whole bunch of different things, including like some special discounts, like come back to us, we have a special discount for you, like 10% off or whatever.
So how do I start doing this retargeting? The first thing you need to do is you need to go to Facebook and Google, those two at bare minimum, and get your pixel. You can go into the settings there. In the ad manager and Facebook, there's a settings like pixel creator, and same thing on Google. You sign up on Google for like the webmaster tools and stuff, and you can actually get your pixel from that. That's the first thing you need to do, and you need to put that in your website if you have your own website. If you don't have your own website, you can use redirecting websites. So maybe you don't have your own website and you're going to run some Facebook ads, and you're going to send those over to Amazon or to your Shopify store. Shopify, you can put the pixels in too, but let's say you're sending them to Amazon where you can't use a pixel. You can run people through a redirect page, which is basically like a landing page that will put the pixel and then it'll redirect them. It's kind of like a forwarding service. So the first thing you need to do is get the pixel set up and start using them either on your own web page, add them to your Shopify site or WooCommerce or whatever you're using. And then if you're sending traffic to a site like Amazon that doesn't allow you to set pixels, then put them through an intermediary page first that redirects them. And then the next thing is you want to go in and you start creating audiences around those. So if it's Facebook, you can go in and start creating audience of people on this pixel. It can be people who who have visited certain websites, like specific URLs. Like say you have a blog, and you have 5 different articles on the blog. You can actually, as long as that pixel, it's the same pixel on every single page, but you can go into Facebook and say, Facebook, create a pixel, create an audience using that pixel. It's a master pixel of everybody who looked at blog post number 1. And they'll say, okay, these are the 200 people that looked at blog post number 1. And then blog post number 2, make another audience of everybody who looked at blog post number 2. And by using that pixel, Facebook knows that which page they visit. They keep in all this massive data, and so they can create these pixels, and then you can start retargeting people based on what they viewed. And so that would be the second thing. And then the third would be start running videos. Start running video ads on YouTube or on Facebook, or just videos in general. It doesn't even have to be ads, just content. And then start creating audiences of people who have watched a certain percentage, 25 or 50% of those videos, because that's who's interested in whatever it is you have to sell or to talk about. And then start using those people to refine to hone your message and to extend your brand or sell your product or whatever it is you want to do.
Another way to optimize your ads. It's just another layer of optimization, because retargeting is generally cheaper and it's more targeted because you're just retargeting the same people. I can't give too many details about setting that up because it's one of those technical things that you just have to learn. You have to sit down in front of your computer and learn it, or outsource it if you really don't want to do it. But yeah, it's very powerful. It makes your whole campaigns cheaper and more targeted at the end of the day.
Well, so every ad platform or retargeting platform has their own ads manager that will tell you the return on ad spend, right? Here's what gets a little bit tricky. So typically a lot of those, a lot of those stats are last click attribution, which basically means the last person who actually clicked on it gets credit for that sale. I don't think that's the case for the ad platforms, because the ad platforms always want you to think that they actually brought the sale. But in terms of like Google Analytics, it's usually last click attribution by default. So what you can do is you can use what is called like a weighted attribution system. So, so someone might find you in Google, but eventually click on a Facebook ad to buy from you, right? What you can do is you can actually weight the attribution depending on where in the funnel and give credit appropriately to those different ways of, people finding you eventually to kind of determine your return on ad spend. That's kind of a little bit more advanced a way of tracking things, but generally all the ad platforms, as long as you set up your pixel properly, it'll tell you whether a particular ad is returning or not. What's a little bit also tricky is a lot of times, when you run Facebook top of funnel ads, that will generally augment your other ad platforms as well. I don't know of anyone who has a really good solution to this other than just tracking straight return on ad spend and what is called like the halo effect with your other ad platforms and your other marketing efforts.
But then using pixels and retargeting and email marketing, you can kind of get those sales later.
Retargeting I'd always do based on where people hang out, but that's always difficult to find where people actually hang out. But my thought process behind that is, if you put a retargeting ad on Facebook, for instance, it will go back to the people that actually came to your website, and they'll only see it if they are on Facebook, right? If they're actually sitting there scrolling through Facebook. If they don't see it, it doesn't cost you anything. The same as if you did it on Instagram, the same as if you did it on Google. If that person hasn't specifically gone on a search for it, you're not being charged for it. So for me, that's not really a question. It's more of, you should just retarget people everywhere they are.
And you're saying to find the bigger platforms, or like it depends what your category of customer is?
No, so I'm not saying to go to a bigger platform or a smaller platform. I'm saying advertise on all the platforms and you'll get them.
But there's so many, Snapchat and then all these things.
Yeah, there's tons. And this is why I said in the last question, it's to test out which platforms are working for you initially, which ones are giving you the best click-through rates, which ones are giving you the best targeting. So I feel that if you've got a limited amount of budget, if that's what you mean, if you've got a limited amount of budget, you need to trial out certain platforms for a decent amount of time. So I would say anything between 3 to 6 months is a decent amount of time to actually test a platform to see whether, one, you're good at advertising on that platform or not, and two, whether your content and people are actually clicking through. If it's not working for you, not making money, and you're not being profitable, move on to the next platform. But without trying them out, you don't know. And it'll be different for every e-commerce company.